Good morning. Hand today's going to be Queen 3 of Hearts. We are at a 25 NL game, full ring. I fold. Button limps, small blind limps, big blind checks. So I think this is somewhat of an uninteresting hand, just on pre-flop action. This is a big mistake just to limp. This guy's, really no mistake is at this point. But limp first in, completing could be okay. I think it's a strategy. It seems like it would be a decent strategy if you're deep. So if you're like 150, 200 big blinds deep, and that's like the effective stacks, limping starts to become a pretty good thing. But here, you got a short stack of 42 big blinds. You've got one at 70 big blinds, or add one for their limp. And he had the opportunity to steal. We only have 40 hands on him. We don't know anything. So the question is, how do we build a limping range? I'm just going to say, based on this, I'm giving him a range something like this. These hands, I assume, would be raising. I think I'll leave these smaller pocket pairs in there. I don't know if he would raise those or not. Same thing with like 10-9. Would he raise those or not? I assume they would. But then these are like hands where, people that aren't comfortable playing these in a raised pot, they prefer just to limp and see a flop. So I'm going to go with this for big blind. Small blind, somewhat similar. We do have a note on him. This guy's note is the blind versus blind. He raised two big blinds with Jack 3 clubs. I bet Jack 3 is probably still in his range here as a limping range. So I gave him something that looks like this. A lot of suited cards here. I assume that he would have raised with some of these better hands. Maybe he wouldn't, but I assume he would. And then when we get to the big blind, I'm giving him all of the cards minus the hands that I think he would raise with. And now we have a player with a lot more cards here, 214. Unfortunately, he's only raised the big blind once, and that was a 3-bet. So, if we look at his 3-bet range, it's looking queens and kings 9, or king 9 suited. King 9 suited was definitely, he limped and then re-raised, so he raised with queens. So, big ranges. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger with each player. So let's take a look. What happens on this flop is a J8h3c8s3d comes out. And then no one really has initiative. So what do we expect? This board could hit any of them. All across. I think all of them have, could possibly have pocket 8s for trips. I don't think anyone really has pocket jacks. I think this guy could have fit 2 pair. 8-3 is in his range. Jack 3 is in his range. So we go check. I guess, would any of these players bet? Let's check flop for the big blind. He bets 19% of the time. Betting a limped pot 0 out of 2. That's what we want. This guy, we don't have. I'm sure we don't have enough hands here. Betting a limp pot 1 out of 1. So I think if anyone, let's see here, this guy could have bet. We'll say a set, maybe 2 pair, could have bet, possibly top pair, good top pair, could have bet. We'll say king jack, and then everything else is still in his range. So we'll do that. This guy, I think, could have his entire range, and then we get a 1/3 bet pot here. He didn't have initiative to begin with, so what would he bet here? Would he bet larger with sets or 2 pairs? I would say yes. I would say he'd at least go like half pot. I think he would probably do that with his good top pair hand too. So we'll leave like pair with weaker. We'll give him, you know, a pair, and then we'll give him, you know, a gut shot, open enders. Gut shot, open enders. Yeah, I think that's probably that'll be it. So we'll give him that. This guy calls. This guy folds. So we're down to here. And what does he call with? Now I think he's calling. Whoops. He's calling with open enders. He's calling with gut shots. Probably calling with overcards. I think king queen. I think you're going to have probably not pocket pair below the board. Probably not a bottom pair. Could be wrong. Well, at 40-30, yeah, maybe the bottom. Maybe he calls bottom pair once. I mean, it's a small bet, so I think we're gonna leave those hands here. I think we've narrowed them at this point. 8 of spades comes out, so we get rainbow. So villain 6 checks. I think he's gonna check everything that in his range, and then you get another 1 big blind bet. At this point, I don't think it's gonna be any of these good hands. Probably not even a top pair hand. Although he could be doing this because he's scared with one big blind. We'll leave the top pair because these are weaker kickers, Jack 9, Jack 7. But then we'll also include the pocket pair below the second card. We'll do a open ender. We'll do the gut shot. And I think a weak pair is probably what we're looking at. And then we have the other guy calls. I think at this point, with 3 of a kind raise, we're going to scale that to 50%. I think sometimes he could raise. Other times he could just call and look for the raise at a later time. I think top pairs calling definitely. I kind of at some point you want to start raising because these bets are pretty weak. Think pocket pair below the second card. I think the weak pair is probably going to be there with our gut shot draws. And then 3 comes out. And it goes check, check. And the question is would he bet? Would he lead out with full house? I think some of the time he would. So we could say 50% of the time he would. That really drops what he would have. So yeah, just 50% of the times he would do that. Top pair he's basically has everything. I think the real one is this guy. He checks behind, so definitely doesn't have a full house. Probably doesn't have a full top pair, but we could be wrong. But we're looking at majority of the time he's gonna have nothing here. So we see a6. I don't even think I have that in his range. He has king 10. I don't even think I have that in his range. So just really just bad hands. So we're going to take some notes here. Because we just did not get this, but I mean, it's hard to put these guys like this on a range, other than I kind of think they're weak hands. I feel like they are weak hands. So he limped first in button with a6 of diamonds. Probably should have raised that. That was a great hand to raise pre-flop. It's 3-way. Actually, he's in position. So he bet 33%. And then he bet 1/5, 20%. And we're just going to clarify 1 big blind. And then he checked. All right, we'll get that too. Yeah, so this guy should have raised pre-flop. I don't know what the king 10 was doing in this hand. Yeah, so called, buttons, LFI, in small blind with king of spades, 10 of hearts. He is out of position. Let's fix that. He check called 33%, check called 20%, checked. All right. So let's go back to here. I think this is where this guy went off. 2-card backdoor flush draws, could have bet, or the aces. So I ignored. Like, I assumed if he was going to bet, he would have bet with at least a pair. We can include the 2-card backdoor flush draws here. And then when you get the 8 of spades out here, then we're looking at what would he continue betting. I did not expect him to bet ace high hand. I mean, he is. So if we add those and then we get 3 of diamonds again, now we do have, you know, ace high in his range. This other guy, king 10. So we do have king 10 off here. Yep. Just want to make sure we had king 10 off. Same thing. Those cards fell out here. I mean, 2-card bat. It's not a backdoor gut shot. I don't know. What is he calling with? He's calling with a backdoor straight draw. Backdoor gut shot straight draw. He needs to get a 9 and a queen to improve him. 10 or a king could also improve him, but he checked and then he called, and then he check called again. Check called again when the board paired. I think I'm not going to be terribly concerned with a 33% bet on the flop. I mean, at least that's close. I do make quarter size C bets, 33% C bets, 33% C bets, and 50%, and then like 2/3 or 75%. Those are kind of the standard sizes. Bet smaller if I'm looking to, if I don't think the board looks like it helped anyone, if I'm trying to get more calls to try to increase my EV. So, you know, 1 big blind into 3, that's okay. I think the turn bet though, bet 1 big blind into 5, actually encourage the king 10 to call. I don't like it. I don't like it now. Because it looks like Villain would probably be doing this with all of his ace-x hands. Probably even the offsuit ones. You know, he's betting his ace high is what he's doing. And when the turn improves, or when the turn brings the 8, any player that's calling that did not have a pair to begin with still doesn't have a pair, because the 8 paired the board. Same thing with the river. So when he bet only 20%, I could rationalize some players saying, okay, well, I'm going to make another call here because it's small. But if you think about what he's doing, I think this guy could still be doing it with a 3. He could be doing with 4s or 5s, in which case, a king 10, you're drawing 2 6 outs at that point. So, not a big fan of how he played it, but definitely not how, I don't like how king 10 played it. I think king 10 should have folded. Even for that 1 big blind, that 20%. I mean, he is getting a pretty good deal. He only needs to be 14%, have 14% equity. So, you know, does king 10 have that? Maybe. Let's check it. Pull over Equilab. Let's get this. So we got a king of spades, 10 of hearts versus ace, a diamond, 6 of diamonds. Flop. All right. Nope. So, I mean, he's right at about 14, just shy of 14. And this is probably going to be true with all of the hands. But as soon as you start adding in some of the pairs that he might have, you're looking at, now becoming even worse. So, we have 8 of spades. We'll go to here and just put in this entire range that we have here. So we copied it. I don't know if that's going to work. Oh, because we used 50%. I think that should work. Maybe I ended it with a comma. Eight. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's actually a little bit better. If we put villain's entire range in, because he will now have hands that he's behind. But would he do that? Would he continue betting with the open ender gut shots? Yeah, probably. I think it's the no made hands that kind of get it. Queen 9, Queen 10. I mean, those are open enders. So maybe he is getting the right odds to call the chase, but exploitatively, you can save some money here. If he had an ace, maybe, but with an ace, you block other aces. All right, so we saw limped pot. These are hard to read usually, but we're doing it. We're getting some notes on these players because we might see them again. So hopefully you enjoyed the scene. If you do, look tomorrow for another one.